It has been about 6 years since the last groundbreaking change was made to the Pokemon Emerald speedrun route. And for about 4 of those 6 years, the Emerald world record has remained unbeaten. And for really good reason too, because Pokemon Emerald is a really hard game to master in the world of speedrunning. The thing that makes it so difficult is that Emerald has a lot of crazy techniques required to compete at a top level. And when you combine that with some of the most ridiculous mandatory battles where you're stuck using an unevolved Pokemon against fully evolved Pokemon, it makes for a pretty difficult speedrun. So obviously, to save even more time than before, speedrunners decided to make the game even harder by inventing an even crazier technique to shake up Pokemon Emerald. And with enough time dedicated to that technique, we were eventually able to see a brand new world record that was just set. But to properly explain these changes and the magnitude of this world record, we first need to understand Pokemon Emerald as a speedrun, why these techniques are so hard to pull off, and what this technique could mean for the future of Pokemon Emerald speedrunning. Hey, question by the way. Are you watching this video on your phone? Is it a good phone? Be honest, because you could be watching this on a beautiful phone from Red Magic. If you don't know Red Magic, they're one of my favorite sponsors after using their phones for nearly 2 years now. I seriously cannot speak enough volumes for how amazing their products are, and the Red Magic 11 Air is just as quality as their last gaming phone, but much lighter and compact than ever before. Right off the bat, this baby comes with a case for any droppers out there like me, a deliciously fast charger, and like all their other phones, you can game on this baby for hours and it'll keep running things nice, cool, and smooth with their high-speed internal cooling fan, fantastic performance with their amazing Snapdragon processor, and plenty of storage for other things beyond gaming like photos, videos, and apps. And for all you gacha fans out there, instead of that overheating monstrosity you got your hands on, you could be enjoying the new Arknight's Enfield on the go for hours on end on its gorgeous 1.5K full display, amongst a lot of other high-end games they feature on their website. So if you're looking for a brand new forever phone that'll last you for years, that can game on the go and for a nice affordable price, look no further than the Red Magic 11 Air. Be sure to check out the description for a link to the Red Magic 11 Air, and thanks so much to Red Magic for sponsoring this video. Pokemon Emerald is a game that puts us in a very weirdly shaped region. If you've heard anything about Hoenn, you've probably heard the term too much water being thrown around a ton. And there's plenty of truth to that since it forces us to backtrack a ton and provides us with a very unique gym order with not too much wiggle room around it. And that particular gym order is one that defines 2 things for the speedrun: the best possible way to travel across the region, and the best possible Pokemon to use for its battles. About 6 years ago was when Pokemon Emerald speedrunners had a definitive answer to traveling across the region as fast as possible. The answer to which was Abra to eliminate backtracking to gyms, and a Tailo to fly a bit later. Then the rest of the travels just kind of came down to getting good at biking around the region, with emphasis on skipping past trainers with cool but hard techniques to pull off like this. Before the second reason, we've always known who is the best Pokemon to beat Emerald with. It's simply Mudkip. With the particular order we're set to take on gyms and their type specialties, not a lot can actually stop Mudkip given its singular weakness towards grass Pokemon. Not a lot can deal with it either. It's seriously just the perfect solution to the game's villains, trainers, and gym leaders. So with Mudkip being such a definitive answer, how could things possibly get any better? Well, the answer to that is in the stats and nature of the Mudkip we've been using for more than 10 years. This particular gem of a Mudkip is a naughty-natured Mudkip with some incredible IVs across the board, all except for its attack stat. In comparison to a perfect attack stat, the rate at which your attack stat grows eventually adds up to make enough of a difference that certain strategies become realistic, and the consistency at which you can KO certain Pokemon increases quite a bit. But there's a reason why we've stuck to this naughty Mudkip for so long. It's because it is the best Mudkip we can get in the least amount of waiting time possible. just saw is the advantages of knowing Pokemon Emerald's broken RNG and the patterns it provides. For Emerald speedrun purposes, this lets us form consistent strategies around the same exact Mudkip every run by simply saving, resetting, then waiting about 23 seconds to obtain this cracked, naughty Mudkip if you are very precise with pressing A on selecting Mudkip as your starter. But because resetting gives us the same exact results every time, we've pretty much been at the mercy of Pokemon Emerald's broken RNG and what it could give us for the last 10 years. But not all hope for something better was completely lost. And one of the reasons we first knew this is thanks to the development of Pokemon Emerald's craziest speedrun, the Battle Frontier All Gold Symbol speedrun. If you want a full breakdown of that run, I made an entire 1-hour movie on it that you can watch on my channel. But the important parts you need to know for this video is that the All Gold Symbol speedrun is so incredibly hard to pull off that speedrunners concluded that you'd need to use an even better Mudkip than the standard Mudkip. Specifically, one that requires us to sit around an extra 8 seconds compared to the Naughty Kip. But while the All Gold Symbols Mudkip was overall better stat-wise, it unfortunately is much worse for speedruns when the goal is to only clear the story thanks to its minus speed nature. Because with a minus speed nature, the time you lose to all the damage you take from more Pokemon outspeeding you outweighs the benefits of better stats. However, the list of available Mudkips doesn't stop at just these two Mudkips. It keeps going until the moment you press A on selecting Mudkip as a starter, or until you hit that subscribe button. God, I'm really bad at these segues. So if we wanted a better Mudkip, you just have to wait long enough for one to show up on the list. One which at least had a better attack stat, but very specifically needed to be either a naughty or lonely nature, which are both natures that sacrifice defense for better attack, whereas brave and adamant sacrifice two of the most important stats in the game. And so, with these very strict requirements in mind, the first people to find and implement one that had this massive story clearing potential was Worcester in the very first All Gold Symbol speedrun back in 2009. In comparison to the naughty-natured Mudkip that we use today, the one Worcester had his eyes on would require him to wait an extra 30 seconds in order to obtain it. So in order to avoid losing 30 seconds, Worcester came up with a pretty ingenious method of saving that mitigated all the waiting time required. Because if Worcester saved inside of the player's house instead of near the bag like we do now, Worcester could spend any time he needed to wait clearing out mandatory text and dialogue. However, there was a really big problem with the way he went about it.
I am not very consistent at hitting the correct frame at all. It's very difficult because you don't have any cues for it. I mean, a frame perfect trick within itself isn't that difficult. Like you're playing a platformer and it's like, oh, jump at this specific or whatever, that's not too difficult. But this, there's just no audio cue at all. So it's really annoying.
Back in those days, not a lot of research was put into the implementation of this abuse in RNG because of the rules of Pokemon speedrunning at the time, not allowing for a save and reset at any point. And the reason this is a problem, each time you walk through a brand new loading zone, you introduce very different results based on things like how goodly or badly your game lags between loading zones, how often an NPC moves, the exact in-game frame you leave locations like your house, and the exact moment you clear pieces of dialogue. So the fact that it took Worcester hours to even obtain this insane Mudkip a single time through brute force alone is no surprise. But 16 years later, someone decided to try again, but with a focus entirely towards the 80% glitchless category. And the person to do it was Pokemon Emerald speedrunning legend, Shiru.
Welcome, my name is Shiru, and I do speedruns. I also do your mother. Hi, Albo, how are you? You just murdered me again! Please, please, no ding dong. Okay, just no ding dong.
Much like Worcester before him, Shiru started with a very similar process. Save inside of the house, reset, then figure out exactly how the game treats the many different in-game frames you'd get once you left the house. And unfortunately for Shiru, he came across a lot of problems with consistency, because instead of a simple save, reset, and a single A press, you need to clear out multiple checkpoints with the same exact precision multiple times, making the resets for good stats a lot more brutal. And so with this in mind, it begged the question, is this new Mudkip actually worth the effort? Well, according to a paste bin from Shiru, it was about 30 to 80 seconds of time saved just from using this brand new Mudkip. However, that time save came at a potential cost outside of consistency. For one, its speed IVs were fairly low compared to the regular Naughty Nature Mudkip, which resulted in a decent bit of time loss across the entire run. And having lower HP and defense IVs on a minus defense natured Mudkip spelt quite a bit of disaster on a good chunk of the hardest fights in the game. For example, the early sections against Roxanne and the late section against Team Aqua's Archie proved to be enough of a problem that Shiru was never able to beat the world record with it, despite how much dedication he gave it. And after enough banging his head against the wall, Shiru eventually moved on. So while Shiru would ultimately decide to hang up the towel on Emerald, a speedrunner who goes by the name Math Genius picked up where he left off. So you guys know that diamond mining meme where the guy gives up before striking the mother lode? Yeah, that's pretty much what happened here with the lonely Mudkip, because Math Genius decided to dig even deeper down the list and found yet another Mudkip waiting for him. So now, instead of waiting for frame 1026 for the naughty or 3253 for the original lonely, Math Genius formulated strategies around a brand new lonely natured Mudkip on frame 5822, one which had much higher defenses and speed, but slightly lower attack and special attack compared to the original Lonely. But with those higher defenses, HP, and speed, it could absolutely compete with the Naughty Nature with a lot more consistency. However, this still came at the cost of being a very precise thing to overcome, with the only benefits seemingly coming from a higher attack stat at the cost of potentially losing time to taking more damage and healing in the long run, causing some folks to ignore the Lonely Mudkip entirely and stick to the good old reliable Naughty Nature. But with enough time and dedication, some folks embrace the brand new Lonely Mudkip entirely, starting with Math Genius obtaining a time of 2:30:14.
Yep, 14. This was my one and only Mudkip hit today, by the way.
Then soon after, a speedrunner who goes by Keeping It Icy got a time of 2:30:44.
Okay, that's a 44.
Yes!
Progress has been made.
Putting them both less than a minute away from a brand new world record. So with competition getting so close, the question was, who would be the one to do it first with the new Lonely Kip? Well, on the first day of 2026, Keeping It Icy did this.
I think this is the fastest way to freaking... I have to do that. Like, what was the freaking situation? I think I'm ahead of Shure's run by 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds. That felt good. Okay. Thank you, Wang. I got Bonkless Sky Filler and I didn't ask for it. Shit, bruh. Ain't no way. If I do, there's just no way. Oh, you do? Oh my god. Do I have to do this? I'm gonna go. Oh my god, okay. Wait. There's just no way. There's no way. Oh my god. Dude. Oh my goodness. What? Is this my first main series PSR record? I don't know. Dude.
As of this video, I've watched multiple Keeping It Icy runs, and every single time that I see the ending of one, it fills me with a lot of emotion. You can tell moments like this mean the absolute world to him. But now we need to discuss exactly what this means for the future of Pokemon Emerald. The thing to note about this new world record is that throughout the entirety of the Mudkip section, where Lonely should have netted some solid time save, Icy was actually an entire 20 to 30 seconds behind the world record throughout most of that part of the game. Where he clawed back enough time save to land a world record was literally on one of the final fights where Mudkip is used against this ridiculous double battle against the Magma Leader Maxi, having a slightly better fight against the final Gym Leader Juan, and also getting a nearly perfect Elite Four. But don't let these facts take away the hard work that was put towards getting this world record, because getting this world record in the first place required Keeping It Icy to play like an absolute legend. However, it does beg the question as to whether or not the future of Pokemon Emerald speedruns will stay lonely or naughty. What I think is clear is this development has been one of the healthiest things to come out of the Pokemon Emerald speedrunning scene in a very long time. Because with the development of the lonely-natured Mudkip, competition is at an all-time high with a bit of a war going on between lonely and naughty, with folks like Math Genius grinding out the lonely, Mockwing seemingly somewhere down the middle, Ananan113 obtaining a new emulator world record with the naughty, and the now former console world record holder Wave Warrior sticking with naughty because of this really long text that you should read at some point, truly causing things to spice up in ways you definitely don't want to miss. So if you want to see where this competition leads to, you should check out everybody on screen and subscribe here as well if you like to hear Pokemon speedrunning news and stories like this one. Special thanks, by the way, to all the lovely supporters on Patreon you see on screen. Head over there if you want some behind the scenes and exclusive stuff on all my videos.